Are you sure we really need all of this?
Yes. This is my new intro, Connor. I want a spotlight. I want music. I want my hair flowing in the wind.
Any hair.
Just shut up and film it, Connor.
Okay.
Intro sequences are an art form. Give any character a cool enough introduction and they'll be seared into the minds of audiences for a lifetime. Think of Dante shooting a motorbike while impaled on a sword in Devil May Cry, Snake leaping from the George Washington Bridge in Metal Gear Solid 2, or the first time you see Cloud in Final Fantasy VII. Making a good first impression is serious business. But then, sometimes, characters who receive a less than flattering intro can also be remembered forever. But maybe for reasons those characters would not appreciate. Unlike the Snakes, the Clouds and the Dantes, these intros cannot be erased from our memories for all the wrong reasons. And because I can't get them out of my head, I'm going to talk about them in a list. So, here are 7 video game characters who deserved way better than that intro. Let's kick things off with the character that inspired this list, Johnny Sasaki, who you may remember as Akiba from Metal Gear Solid 4. This game has some of the best character introductions ever, whether it's the haunting monologue of an aging Solid Snake or Raiden's bionic ninja renaissance. And yet the one character intro that stands out above all others is... Johnny Sasaki and his sensitive bowels are a beloved Metal Gear in-joke, of course. He's had to dash off to the toilet multiple times over the course of the series. Even his grandfather was at it in Metal Gear Solid 3. But considering how incredibly badass the rest of Rat Patrol 1 is, it feels like poor Johnny is being done particularly dirty here. He's clearly a very capable soldier, as shown by his excellent marksmanship during the climactic battle in Outer Haven, and he must be a compelling enough human being for Meryl to want to marry him.
Seriously, Meryl? This guy?
Yes, this guy. I mean, I feel for him. The first thing I do when I arrive anywhere is locate the nearest toilet. But when you're in a war zone, I guess the facilities aren't always going to be conveniently placed, which is why poor Johnny has opted for pooping under a barrel. What's worse is that once Johnny's been chased off, Snake decides the offending barrel is in fact the perfect mobile hiding spot.
No one is coming out of this smelling of roses. In fact, everyone is coming out of this quite literally smelling of something else.
Jonathan Klebitz is the second character we think deserved better than what happened to him during his intro in Grand Theft Auto 5, and the thrust of that feeling comes from the fact we loved playing as him in the Grand Theft Auto 4 expansion, The Lost and Damned. Is that just because we think riding a Harley in formation is the epitome of traditional badassery? Maybe, but playing as a rough-and-tumble leather-clad foot soldier is also really fun, so we naturally built a certain fondness for Johnny. Which is why, when new character Trevor turns his head into mush in GTA 5, it stung a little.
Although, probably not as much as it stung for Johnny.
It's not like we're averse to the idea of beloved characters dying. There's always a reason for it, and sometimes it's the best way to serve the narrative or highlight the stakes. Having Trevor senselessly attack Johnny shows the player that this new protagonist is more unhinged than the now dead former protagonist could ever be. And that is the perfect intro for Trevor.
So you could say that Johnny sacrificed himself to enhance the story.
Yes, that's it. It was a noble, valiant act on Johnny's part. Through some kind of divine developer intervention, he knew that his time in the sun was over and Trevor was the next chapter of the story. He knew that to truly teach the player Trevor's nature, he had to allow himself to die at the feet of savagery incarnate.
Poor Johnny Klebitz.
Entry number 3 is Commander Shepard, another character I think deserved better than the intro they got in Mass Effect 2, which is to say within 5 minutes of you hitting new game, Shepard is blown into space to suffocate and die after the destruction of their beloved Normandy.
Shepard would be well within their rights to question this, what with them being literally the main character
Shepard's explosive death isn't just to shock us or teach us what relentlessly evil badasses the Collectors are, it's also a poignant moment that makes the Commander seem more heroic than ever, sacrificing their life to save as many Normandy crew members as possible. In physically destroying Shepard, BioWare is at the same time building their character. As openings go, it's a narrative haymaker. So why am I saying Shepard deserves better?
Because they die alone in the most horrific way possible.
Have you ever actually read about what happens if the human body decompresses in space? The pressure change means two things. One, the nitrogen in your blood forms into bubbles and causes havoc with your muscles and joints, leaving you in serious pain. It's what happens to divers when they ascend too quickly and get the bends. But also, space is a vacuum in which the boiling point of water drops below body temperature, and so, too, you'll begin to swell up like a human balloon. Combine both those things with all the bruises and broken bones Shepard will undoubtedly have suffered during the explosion, and it means they are probably in indescribable agony. Arguably the most brutal sequel reset any video game protagonist has gone through.
But hey, the suit's also leaking oxygen, so at least Shepard will suffocate quickly and lose consciousness. Silver linings and all that.
Up next is The End from Metal Gear Solid 3, the fourth entry in this list of video game characters who deserved better than their intro.
It's also the second Metal Gear entry on this list, but also it's my list, and I will do what I want.
The reason I think The End deserves better is because look how cool the intros are for the rest of the Cobra unit, shooting hornets out their mouth, or dislocating their arms, or ranting about spaceflight while shooting fire and flouncing about in a jetpack.
Even the Sorrow gets a cool intro, and he is dead.
By contrast, The End, a legendary sniper and, let's face it, one of the most iconic bosses in the entire Metal Gear saga, is wheeled out while sleeping and left unceremoniously on a jetty while you sneak past guards and, if you fancy it, snipe him to death before his boss fight has even happened.
In which case, The End doesn't even reach the beginning.
It's a very Hideo Kojima thing to do, to be fair, and you have to applaud the brazen creativity. I just don't think The End would applaud it if he was awake to complain. Our next video game character who deserved better than the intro they got is you. You as in the player character in Dark Souls.
This intro is a right old slap in the entitlements, especially when you consider the absurd epicness of what comes immediately before.
I'm not personally the biggest fan of VO-led CG scene setting, but even I have to admit Dark Souls' intro is a proper all-timer. Death and dark and fire and dragons and, oh, yes please, it's like the seedy underbelly of a Tolkien-esque high fantasy. Middle-earth after the lights have gone out and all the nice people have escaped to the Grey Havens. A sense of scale and dread that will have you tingling. And then Dark Souls, with characteristic disdain, introduces you, the chosen undead, rotting in a cell like the pathetic little corpse worm you are.
I know what you Souls fans are like. You were enjoying this, weren't you? Yes! You moaned. Punish me, game! Punish my face off!
Have some respect for yourselves. Seriously, everyone here who's finished Dark Souls has achieved things I never will. You've got past the bell gargoyles for one.
That's literally where I got to.
And you've persevered, time and again, against all the odds, against Ornstein and Smuff, against Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. You're a true hero, and you deserve more than to be introduced as a corpse in rags and rusty armour.
Don't let Dark Souls bully you, okay? Know your worth. You deserved fireworks, a fanfare.
I mean, a face. You at least deserved a face. Entry number 6 now, and the penultimate character who deserved better than the intro they got is Emperor Uriel Septim the 7th from Oblivion. Of course, the Emperor's death is the perfect narrative stroke to set the plot of the game in motion. Without the succession crisis caused by his brutal murder, the gates to oblivion wouldn't have opened, and the game would probably just be called The Elder Scrolls 4.
Although there might have been some pushback from marketing.
But on the other hand, can you imagine being the Emperor, all excited after being voiced by Patrick Stewart and delivering one of the most dramatic intros in gaming history, only to then find yourself killed in the first few minutes by a nameless assassin?
I have tried as well, countless times, to save the Emperor. Nothing works.
What a guy, what a voice, what a costume. All that to get shivved in a sewer and left to die with the skeevers. Our final entry epitomises the notion of a character that deserves better, not only from their intro, but also from the hands of the main character. The ship captain in the original God of War gets the short end of the stick rammed between his eyes by Kratos, who has the opportunity to save the captain's life, but doesn't.
Kratos first encounters the captain inside the mouth of the Hydra as he's clinging desperately to the edge of its throat, trying to avoid being swallowed.
It's quite the intro, especially when you consider what we haven't been shown, namely the captain having his ship torn to pieces by the aforementioned Hydra, his crew presumably killed, and himself eaten alive.
And to be fair to Kratos, none of this is his fault.
What is Kratos' fault is appearing to save the captain, only to rip the key from his neck and toss him back into the belly of the beast, and then a few hours later meeting the captain again in the underworld and using his body as a glorified ladder to climb out of the river Styx, before damning the captain's soul to eternal torment by kicking him into the depths of hell. If it weren't so funny, I genuinely feel bad about causing him so much misery.
The ship's captain does deserve better than this intro. But I'm kind of with Kratos here, if I'm honest, because this way is just far more entertaining.
And that was 7 video game characters who deserved better than that intro. Please give us a like if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments if there's a character intro we missed, and do make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos like this every Friday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
PlayStation